The following is a quick overview on how to use the Assessment Definition Editor in Bay Data Librarian to modify an existing assessment definition. For this demonstration, we will use the System ID assessment that ships by default with Bay Data Librarian. Now, as a side note, to get to this point where we're at now, you need to start Bay Data Librarian, click on Definitions. The Assessment Definitions window will come up. You'll notice System ID and then click on the Edit button. That brings up this screen. So on this screen, you have menus. You can save, you can add colors, you can drop objects. For example, this is just a comment object right here. The comment allows you to leave a little information for people that may be using the assessment. Over here you have different diagram objects that are available to the assessment editor. You have a start block, an end block, you have connectors, you have run assessment blocks, you have script blocks, you have SQL blocks, mail blocks, task blocks, approval blocks, and you can read more about this in the help. What we have here in the System ID assessment is a series of task blocks, and then at the end there's an SQL block, and then the assessment is over. All of the assessment blocks, the task blocks of the assessment, work and look the same. The difference is in the detail that's in them. So let's go ahead and open up the system identification block. You open it by double-clicking on it, and the default task is a single task. That's the system project description task, and the subject of that is the system project description, and the description is please identify the main system features. This has been assigned to the group assessment team, which you can add members to. It's defaulted in the software when you downloaded it. You can also add more groups to match what you're doing, or assign the task to an individual user. Now, this task sends an email notification when it's created, but you don't have to do that. You can turn it off. Additionally, it has another tab here called Status. The status here is open or done, and you can also change that to an approval block, but it's been set up as an open and done. You also have the option, does the open task represent completion? No, it does not, but the done task does. And what you're probably going to notice, if it represents completion, then it'll be bolded. Now on the attachments for this task, we can say show, so when I'm doing this task as the assignee, I'll be shown all attachments. I'm allowed to remove attachments, insert attachments, or edit attachments. These attachments can be considered useful for evidence or even to answer the question. At the workflow level, you can actually add attachments so that when this runs, everyone will see that attachment, and it might be instructions on how to complete the workflow or a particular task outside of the normal help. The next part's really important. That's the answers. So in the system project description, I have some answers here. I need to know the system name, the system ID, the system acronym, the system type. Now, each of these have a caption that the user will see, the assessment operator will see when completing the assessment, and it has an editor type. Now, this is really interesting now. The editor type can be a text box, a checkbox, a date selector, a memo field if it could be a few paragraphs of text, or a drop-down. And if it was a drop down, you're then able to enter in values that the user will see when completing. We're going to change this back to a text box now. And then there can be an expiration. Does the task ever expire? Yes or no? In the help, you can learn about custom date and time expressions and what is the expiration status. Does it remain open or does the task automatically close? Okay, that's how you edit a task. And you might want to have multiple tasks here, and to add one, you would just click the Add button, Task 2, and then come over and give it a subject, description, assign it, and maybe no email. We can call it an approval workflow. We can decide what we want to do with attachments, and then we have to add an answer. And I think in this case, we'll just say, what date was it approved? Automatically, it's going to have that there. Assign it a variable. It's going to be a date approved. The variable is used by the system. You can use it in many different ways. We'll explain that in a different video. And let's go ahead and select the type, and it'll be a date type, and we'll say it never expires. So we go ahead and save that, and we've modified the system identification task. However, I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I don't want to modify the default task. Okay, so that's how you go through and edit. So everything has a start. Every assessment must have a start and an end. If I come through here and I delete that arrow, this is no longer a valid assessment. And what's really interesting here is you can go into the assessment menu and you can go ahead and say check assessment. And you're going to see there's an error here. Completion status done does not have a corresponding transition. And there you have it. So I can see it right there. I can go ahead and add the transition. When it's done, go to the next item. Go ahead and save that. And when I check the assessment again, it says the diagram is correct. Now, as we go through all these different questions, you could do it all as one task with a bunch of different questions down in it. It doesn't have to be this way. And you'll see some of them are done in an easier manner like that. Now, one second before I go on to the data inventory, the reason it's separate is your CISO may be different from the program manager, may be different from the chief privacy officer, and may be different than the subject matter expert. So these can be assigned to different people to complete, and that's why it's left differently. Now, we colored one block here yellow because it's very interesting. So as you're doing this assessment and you're answering it, and right before it's done, it's actually going to run a SQL statement and add this new system that's been created or updated into the data inventory catalog. So there's no more creating something in one place and then recreating it in another place. You actually complete this assessment and it'll update or add a new data inventory item. And additionally, you will now have the geographical reach and the location, so you're going to know where that data is flowing. Very important for GDPR, very important for just securing your own systems. Okay, so that covers how we can edit an existing assessment. Thank you very much. See you next time.